everybody, William John Raitt back with another episode of Design and Invest. This is a design deep dive of the property you see behind us. This is the Klump property, 4 units in North Hollywood. Let's jump in. I'll show you all the finishes, why we made those choices. I'll also go over the details of the deal points themselves, so you can check that out. So let's jump in and check it out. Okay, so let's start on the outside. On the outside, I want to talk about the design finishes and features. When we bought this property, it was purchased as an RTI deal. RTI just basically means ready to issue permits. So essentially we bought the plans and the property as a whole, and then we took it from there and did the construction. In this scenario, because I do develop and design properties myself, I build them very cheaply. I design them very cheaply as far as wood construction, very little steel, simple, straight to the point type development. This project, we were at the mercy of their plans because we're not going to go back to plan check and resubmit everything. So we're at the mercy. So there's a couple of goofy things here that I wasn't really sold on. So a little too much steel, little too much, the foundation's a little crazy, but it was a good deal. We bought this for $1.1 million or so, and had plans to build ADUs to really sneak in a little more value on the property. We ended up changing gears midway. The values went up, which is always good. The rental market went up, so units that used to rent for $4,000 now are renting for $4,500. That changes the GRM of the deal, and it makes it a very juicy deal just as 4 units. So we kept it at that. We didn't want to overcomplicate it by building out the ADUs. If you notice on the front, we have smooth stucco. We did a 2-toned, we did a white and a gray smooth stucco. On the sides of the property, we did a sand finish just to save on money. Smooth stucco is not very cost effective, so we just wanted a little wow factor on the facade, and then on the rest, more practical. Alternating from white to gray on the finishes. And if you notice on that second floor, as well as the little cove on the first entry, we wrapped it with fake wood. It's like a Trex, with the kind of material you would use on decking and things like that. And it adds another element to it. This stuff will hold up 100 years from now. It'll be totally fine. You don't have to stain it or do anything like that. It just gives the impression of wood, and it breaks up the sort of monotony of design elements. So this cool little detail that's added to the stucco, there's a channel. It's, I believe, called the drip edge. It runs just underneath the eaves of the balconies. And what that allows that to do is the water, when it hits that drip edge, it hits it and it comes down, it falls down, instead of going and causing bubbles and moisture to accumulate around the light fixtures and recessed cans and eaves underneath. It's not typically done. You have to really ask for it when you're stucco guys doing it, because it is extra work. But it's a very beneficial feature to the maintenance on the property. You have a lot less maintenance and a lot less water intrusion, erosion, things like that, moisture being trapped. And then we did the dress numbers backed with real wood planks, so it adds that same sort of rustic, material. You have the wood on top of the smooth stucco. It changes the finishes. The drought tolerant landscaping, grasscrete around the property, so that's concrete with grass inserts. It adds a cool element of design as well as a practical element of water conservation. Instead of doing rain barrels, which a lot of properties will do, we did the planter boxes to collect the water, and that's another requirement for LID, which is the water conservation requirements that the state puts in place. So here's an example of the planters, but basically these are put in place to collect water. This is a classier way of doing it. You could also put tomatoes or use it as your personal garden for this unit. The way it works is you see this downspout from the rain gutters. The water is diverted. There's a flat roof. It comes off to this side, and then it comes down here and collects in these planter boxes. I don't really know what the point of that is, but it's a requirement from the city to collect that water. What it does with it, I don't know. I think it just sits there or something, but it's a requirement, and the state thinks you need them, so that's why we put them. So we wrapped the front with smooth stucco, and then we ended it right here at this screed. We also used bigger channels too, more drama and design element. They're a little bit more, but they look really, really nice, and it picks up it really accentuates the joints in between colors and in between finishes. So here is where we ended the smooth stucco and then started the sand finish. It also changes color from gray to white, and then again gray to white up top. When we bought these plans, the architecture called for some pretty exaggerated build outs, pop outs. I'll insert a rendering here as well so you can see the original rendering of how it was supposed to look. We changed things up, made it a little more simplistic for cost reasons. I definitely don't see the purpose of making something, you know, like up here, for example, there was a big pop out above that top window that came out like 2-3 feet. It didn't make much sense to do that. I just wanted to go smooth the whole way instead of like all these different features. Some of the windows were exaggerated and big and expensive. We chose to use simple white vinyl windows, a lot cheaper, but also it doesn't look cheaper. So my decisions always come down to that, is can we get a good look for cheaper? And the answer is usually yes. You just have to be smart about the decisions you make. Otherwise your budget will just get ballooned and go crazy. It's one of the things I think I'm probably better at than a lot of other people, is keeping the cost low and the features still nice. So being at the mercy of the previous architect's plans, we had this ridiculous foundation around the entire property, both units, and they built up this foundation to like a big lip. I don't understand the point of it, but that's what they chose to do, and we didn't really have a choice in the matter unless we went back to plan check and changed that, but we weren't about to do that. So it just means extra concrete, extra rebar, extra steel. There's some steel in some unnecessary places in the property. We dialed it back a little bit. You could do supplementals. So we submitted a supplemental for dialing back some of the steel. Instead, we just use wood and things like that. These cantilevers, there's a lot of cantilevers on this property. That's this sort of pop out. There's a whole structure above it, so you have to support this. Usually people will support this with steel because it's easy for them to do the architecture on that. Just boom, steel, less calculations and things like that for them because they know that the steel is gonna suffice. Instead of doing wood, which is way, way cheaper, it just takes more work on the calculations and stuff to do that. So architects are sometimes lazy and just wanna churn out the plans. But so we were able to dial back some of the steel, but again, construction costs start to spiral if you use too much steel. So unfortunate, but the project came out nice anyways. Again, on these back units, we carried through all of this wood accent. We did white on gray on white with the element of a wood sort of siding. So we kept things very simple on the finishes, like the garage doors, simple flat panel, probably about $1,500 per. The motors that we used were simple, but also smart home capable. So that'll be helpful for the new owners. The front doors, we chose to use, I don't know, $250, $300 HD supply doors, but they have a cool light right down the middle that gives it a little modern element. But didn't overdo the finishes throughout the property, especially knowing that our agenda was to dial things back and to sell the units as duplex and not build the ADUs. We were supposed to put an ADU in the middle, one in the back, convert one of the garages to another junior ADU. Those plans changed and we scrapped that idea. We bought the property with plans in place for 1.2-ish, I think it was 1.1. And then we ended up getting an escrow on the sale of this for 3.25. And we now have C of O on the property. Today the gas meters are going in and a couple other things just to, all the utilities are now falling into place. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk a little bit about the finishes on the interior, why we made those choices, and this is a rental, so they have to hold up. We used vinyl flooring, very durable for pets, for families, kids, easy to clean, waterproof. There's a lot of benefits to using vinyl flooring. It's a little more pricey than laminate flooring, but it holds up a lot better. Initially, we were talking about keeping this property as a rental for our investment pool, but we ended up changing gears because market conditions, things just changed deal-wise. And also we picked up a really big deal in Sylmar, which I'll talk about in a later episode, that changed our minds and focus from getting this off our books and that one on our books. So if you look here, we didn't use an orange peel, which is like a texture. It's cheaper, but this is more of a modern high rental area, higher price rental area. So we wanted to use a nice clean, everything clean. Flat panels on the cabinets, we use the shaker style moldings that are just real streamlined. We use shaker doors. We used a brushed aluminum / brushed nickel finish throughout for the cabinet pulls, for the handles. It's cheaper, more readily available, easier to match between brands. A lot of times if you use like a tricky brand, like a champagne bronze or something, the consistency from, one vendor to another is not the same. So you have to really play, these games on finishes. With stainless steel / like brushed nickel, very easy. We used a little nicer handles. We could have chose the cheap sort of rounded door handles for $10. We chose $17 instead and got the nice streamlined square ones. The cabinets, we could have chose a cheap shaker cabinet and got it from China, and that would have been a lot cheaper, but I have a really good relationship with our custom cabinet maker. So we did custom, we did a wood veneer. So it looks like real wood, but it's just a veneer, but still affordable. We used quartz counters. A lot of apartments and cheaper rentals, they just use the 6-inch backsplash that goes with the quartz that comes with it. We chose to use an actual, textured tile. A little bit more money, but my tile guy is not very expensive. And this tile per square foot is only about $4 or so it doesn't really break the bank. It has a cool look to it. It's textured. It goes together almost like a sheet of wall covering. So it looks really cool. It gives a little little dimensional breakup from, the other elements that are a little more simple, like the quartz counters. We use nice stainless steel appliances, just a base level model. We didn't overdo it on that. It's not necessary. Things you can spend a lot of money on that don't really bring back a lot of friends with it are appliances. And so for us, for a rental, Frigidaire, base model combination, stainless steel and black, completely acceptable. Micro hood combos go a long ways. The one thing that we did do that is not really normal is we use linear diffusers. Again, our AC guy, it's only about $200 extra per vent, and we only use 2 per unit. So that's only an additional cost of $400 per unit, but it goes a long ways, especially for the main living areas where you entertain guests and things like that. You wanna have something to talk about, a little different than your normal apartment rental, and that definitely gives that dimension needed for top tier rentals. So as you know, I own a home staging business, and I always preach the importance of staging. In an area like this where you have a long room where people wouldn't really know where to put their furniture, it's pretty important to stage the unit. Most of the units in the structure of the 4 units, each of them has its own little quirks. Those ones are really easy to sort of visualize your furniture, but also it's a landing point for potential buyers to come and just feel comfortable about their purchase and seeing something in, you know, that's fully completed, especially the way that we marketed this one. We marketed this one before the property was finished. So this unit we rushed to finish, make sure that everything was dialed in on this one, staged, the model unit was on point and ready to market. So that was really helpful in order to give the new buyer that visually finished appearance, which is pretty important. Each one of these bedrooms has an ensuite bathroom. So that is really helpful too. In North Hollywood, it's a very shared space. Most likely the tenants here will be one master lease kind of guy that does the whole unit, and then he'll rent it out to all of his friends for top dollar. Each room he might ask $1,000 for. In order to get those, to achieve those rents, having en suites are pretty important. We have 2 units that are 4 bedroom, 4.5 bath, and we have 2 units that are 3 bedroom, 3.5 bath. Each one of the bathrooms, we carried the same finish for the cabinetry that you saw in the kitchen with the veneered vanities and quartz counters through to the bathrooms. We incorporated the 6-inch backsplash instead of doing a custom backsplash like we did in the kitchen. Very commonly seen in bathrooms, obviously. For all the faucets, we used, you know, simple $40 Amazon faucets. All of the shower valves, we used, you know, $150 Kohler faucets and tubs, and, you know, very simple finishes, nothing too crazy. In this one, we did a shower. The flooring tile is maybe $2 a square foot. We wanted to add a little geometric pattern to it to break up. You know, I don't want everything to be too matchy-matchy. Throughout the house, we have a sort of light wood color on lighter wood color finish with little pops of gray. So in here, the tiles are all gray, as well as the tiles in the shower surround. Those ones are 12 by 24s. And then in the niches, we carried in the floor tile back into the niches to give a little detail and pizzazz to it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. And remember, like, you can buy these too. On this particular property, I had no money of my own invested in this. I just had my skill set. So if you develop a skill set and you're strong enough at using it, you can leverage that into doing deals. And, you know, this one, we didn't end up keeping it. Unfortunately, I do want to keep as many as possible. I don't have a 401k or your, you know, normal retirement plan. So this is really my pathway to retirement and, you know, helping my family along the way. But keep plugging away, guys. Watch my content. If it's valuable to you, share it with people. And remember, design, invest, and repeat.